The response to warnings about having too much money and it taking our eyes off God, one of the responses can be to go, okay, I don't want to take my eyes off God. I want to have my eyes fully on him. I don't want to be distracted. So I'm going to get rid of all my money. I'm going to quit my job and have poverty. I'm going to choose to have nothing because I don't want to have my eyes taken away from God in any way, shape, or form. I want to be a good and faithful servant, which isn't a wrong motivation, but I think it's the wrong response. You see, there is a good side to actually lack. There's a good side to not having enough. I know a lot of people said that what would, I think, help stress would be if they had more money. That's their main desire. But there is a good side to actually not having enough. And the good side is where we learn to rely on God for his provision, where we learn to trust God for him, where we need him to provide. And we see this with missionaries. Oftentimes missionaries are called to go to a place. They don't have the finance to do it, but they believe that God's called them and therefore God will provide. And they go and do what they're called to do. And they see God provide in miraculous ways to cover them and their faithfulness. There's many countries around the world where people just generally don't have enough, where poverty is the norm. And followers of Jesus, Christians, they also live in the poverty, but they aren't consumed by the poverty because they see God as their provider and they trust God to provide for their needs, which is a good response to not having enough. But there's also a bad side. There's a negative response. And I actually see this negative response far more times than I see the positive response. I see the negative response in pastoral situations on many occasions where people say, I don't have enough, and they're not like, I don't have enough, but it gives me an opportunity to see how God's going to provide in my life. It's, I don't have enough, and oftentimes it's therefore, I'm going to have to get a second job. Or I felt called to London, but I'm going to have to leave London because I can't afford to live here because I haven't got enough. Or I can't come on Sunday because I'm going to work all night on Saturday night. Or I'm going to work a shift on Sunday, so I can't come to the church service. Or I can't come on to a community group because I'm going to have to work harder and work longer hours to get more money. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's fair enough. I can see people's reasoning behind that. And me too. I can see why someone, I don't have enough. I'm worried about paying rent. I'm going to work extra hard to get extra money. And therefore, I'm not going to come on Sunday, go to community group. I'm going to sacrifice those things. I can see why people would do that. And it's very understandable why people would do that. But I also think there's a truth that we need to be aware of. And the truth that we need to be aware of is this. In the book of Hebrews, we're told, do not forsake the gathering of the saints, as some are in the habit of doing so. Do not forsake the gathering. It's a command, do not forsake the gathering. And we know about the early church, that the early church gathered every day in the temple and in the oikos, in households. They would gather every single day. And then they're told, do not forsake the gathering. We don't gather every single day. Our culture says we gather on a Sunday, and then as a church we also have community groups that don't run all year round but run seasonally, and so we gather twice a week, sort of at most. And so we're told, do not forsake the gathering. Yet, oftentimes, finances are used as an excuse to forsake the gathering. And again, I understand why. So this is quite a hard challenge for me to bring, because A, I get it pastorally. I have empathy, and two, I really like people to like me, so I don't want you to not like me. But the challenge is this: if we decide to put going to work over doing what God calls us to do, we're saying that work, that's not optional, but gathering, the church service, community group, what God calls us to do, that is optional. We're saying that the thing that brings money in, that isn't optional, but God's stuff, that is optional. And that's a heck of a statement, and that's a statement I don't think we actually mean to make when we're in those situations. But that is a statement we're making. We're saying, hey, God, I like you, but I have more important things.